Over 4.9 billion people worldwide have access to social media, with the average user accessing 6.7 social media platforms at one time. Individually, we spend 864 hours a year using social media. As a collective, that makes 260 trillion minutes between us, equating to 500 million years of collective human time spent on social media a year. But why is this? To fully understand how we got here, we have to go back to the very beginning. The year was 1993. Michael Jackson was declared the king of pop. Film lovers, Jurassic Park was released to audiences in America. And around the world, everyone obtains public access to the World Wide Web. The World Wide Web was the brainchild of Tim Berners-Lee, a 37-year-old researcher at a physics lab in Switzerland called CERN. By the end of 1995, more than 24 million people in the US and Canada alone spent an average of 5 hours per week on the internet. From there, we then jump 11 years later to 2004. This being the year of Facebook's release of February that year. While there were other social media platforms before Facebook, such as Friendster and MySpace, what made Facebook revolutionary and ahead of its game was its implementation of ad campaigns on the website. This is where a company or anyone interested in promoting a product would pay Facebook to advertise it to the correct target audience for maximum interaction. The algorithm works by an advertising company identifying the product it wants to sell, for example, dog food. Facebook will look for the users who have the most engagement with dog content. Whether they actually have a dog or not can't be certain, but the algorithm makes its best guess. These adverts are then pushed towards its target audience, and Facebook is then paid even more with targeted advertising. This is where algorithms became frequent on sites such as this. This would have been seen as invasive, but was used for the best interest of the company, who made more of a profit from this exploitation of privacy. This idea of machine learning algorithms could be used to find the perfect user for adverts became mainstream, and is ever present and ever evolving to this day. In current society, it could be perceived that there are three leading problems that plague the socials. The first being the effects of social media on the younger population who have access to it. The exploitation of the elderly and underexperienced users of social media, and potential scams or other means of profit, and the control social media companies have over our data. Many think that social media has a negative effect on the younger generation, especially those aged 11 to 18, and parents that give their child an iPad with unrestricted internet access to keep them quiet can be seen as a cause of this problem. Admittedly, at times, this can keep a child quiet, while a parent needs time to shop or work.
Can we stop throwing because everyone's going to go home?
But are parents unaware of what their child is viewing and is missing out on key social interactions to help with their development? There's been a huge influx of content made for children at this age. This content is at best produced at the bare minimum of effort.
Bazinga!
But for the viewers who are freshly developing brains, at this point being raised on this content could be detrimental to both speech development, due to the mind-numbing content, but also creates a complete detachment from the parents as the child becomes addicted to the repeated dopamine hits when watching this content. Social media pressures can be seen as an issue to young adults due to the principles involved with thinking at this age. With the overwhelming pressure to fit in with the others and hormones being at an all-time high, meaning frequent mood swings, the standards of presenting yourself at this age are greatly worsened by the standards now set by social media and the threats of cyberbullying. 90% of teenagers use social media, meaning they could be negatively influenced by the images of how the ideal body should look that are being promoted by people online. The idea itself falls flat when proper research is done on how these people obtain these perfect bodies. The stereotypical male bodybuilder influencers who preach life in the gym are actually illegally filled with enough steroids to kill a mammoth, and the female standards being enough Botox to become unrecognisable, common denominator of both parties having dodgy veneers that reflect light brighter than the sun. Despite how blatantly fake these body types are, they still give the mindset that obtaining them is key, and take priority over other things. Cyberbullying is also a major problem on social media. It goes without saying that cyberbullying is a bit of a dead horse when it comes to discussing the problems of social media. So mentioning it when the topic is discussed always feels redundant, but it's still one of the biggest issues going. Put simply, cyberbullying is used technology to harass, threaten, embarrass, or target another person. Whether this is about looks, personality, or anything really. This doesn't have to be directly in contact with the victim either. It can be done behind their back without them knowing. The method of it never really matters. One way or another, someone gets upset or insulted eventually, and it really just depends on the person involved and how it affects them. Using this chart here, we can see the rates of teenage suicides in the US. Up until 2009, we can see the graph oscillate between incline and decline. This shows that measures were put in place if it began to increase too much, and there was always something that would bring it back down. That is, until 2009, there is an incline. The same inclines get steeper and steeper and doesn't decline again until what the graph says is 2018. Now we'll compare this to the other release dates of major social medias. Snapchat, July 2012, TikTok, August 2018. But most importantly, what I see as a turning point is Instagram's initial release in 2010. Coincidentally or not, when the number of teenage suicides began to rise significantly over the years. There again, this could all just be coincidence, but it's still important to identify that social media could have potentially played its part in these deaths. To look into this further, I decided to talk to a few people I know about their experiences with social media. Could you just say your name for the camera, please?
I'm Ethan Robbins.
And I'm Maximus Davey.
John T. Winter. Henry Bunn. My name is Nathan Kaczarski.
My name is John T. Louis Hall Kilburn.
But to start, can you go on your settings and tell me your screen time? Let's use that.
I don't know if I could do that. I got the droid.
Okay, so my screen time is 6 hours and 22 minutes, and my most used app is Snapchat, coming in a total of 14 hours and 59 minutes.
How do I check it?
Search up screen time, see if that's on there.
My daily average is 4 hours and 55 minutes, and my most used app is Instagram with a total of 6 hours and 53 minutes.
Okay, so Instagram, 9 hours and 37 minutes.
My total screen time is 16 hours.
Last week.
This month, dumbass.
About an hour. Instagram.
Shit, that makes me look awful. I got 8 hours.
Today?
Daily.
Daily? Oh, if we're going daily. Oh, 1 hour, 20 minutes daily average screen time. That's like average screen time on everything.
Shit, that makes me look even worse.
You've got 8 times my screen time.
Let me tell you my daily, alright? 5 hours. My number 1 is TikTok. My number 2 is Hungry Shark Evolution. My weekly is 8 hours.
My weekly is 34.
Okay, so Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, YouTube and TikTok are stated to be some of the largest social medias for English speakers. How many do you currently have on your phone?
All of them.
I have all of them.
I also have all of them.
All of them.
Can you name them all again? I have all of them.
Yeah.
3.
1, 2, 3.
3 or 4?
Has social media ever made you reevaluate how you act, dress, or present yourself generally?
Yeah.
How so?
Just walking around, not really paying attention to what I was wearing before, and then pull out my phone and watch something. See something about, I don't know, what someone's wearing and think, shit, I should be wearing something like that.
Not necessarily, because I usually just dress how I want to dress, but there's been at least one time where I've looked at it, it's like, that could work.
Yes?
Nah, it's made me horny.
Take this seriously, please.
Not really, no.
Do you think social media distributes your data without your consent? If so, are you aware of what data this is?
Probably, but like, I don't really know what type of what part of my data they are stealing.
I think they're probably stealing our data and selling it.
I think
yeah,
they
most
probably
likely.
do that.
They-
I have no idea what
Yeah,
they
because
are.
the amount of tailored ads I get, it's annoying. But yeah, they definitely do.
Obviously!
Yes.
I use Temu.
Data.
I don't know, I don't read the TOS, you know what I'm saying? Listen, Temu, they sell my data, but I get cheap shit, so...
Should there be a minimum required age for social media?
I
yeah,
think there should
definitely.
be, because I feel like at like 12 to 13 is when you should be. 12 to 13 or 13 to 14 should be when you start to get more into social media. Because I feel like before that, it's like, you really don't want to waste your, you do not want to waste your childhood just like scrolling constantly. You want to like go out in the fresh air, you know, actually experience life before you become a mindless troll.
Troll.
For some apps like Reddit, so having like a age-restricted being tighter on the age restriction on the app will probably be beneficial.
Yeah, with apps like Discord as well, there's a minimum age of 13, but it's not really monitored. So you do find people under the age of 13 using it quite a lot.
Yes.
Depends. Like, there's YouTube Kids that I use, and like that shouldn't be like over age.
Yeah, but that's brain rot, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I use it.
You don't want the little 5-year-olds to develop like. I'm not going to say that.
As of about a day ago, US Congress passed a bill to allow a complete TikTok ban. Do you think the same should be done in the UK?
Probably. I've lost countless hours on that.
Probably, yeah. I don't use TikTok at all. But probably, yeah, with the amount of kids that have just started using it and only spend all of their time on it.
It's a bit pointless, really, because like you can't just ban something with like billions, millions, or even billions of users, and plus there are more important issues to be discussing and to be thinking about rather than a bloody app.
I don't think that it should be banned, more monitored, considering no matter how many things may be put in place, a lot of people will find their way around it and continue to use the app anyways.
Do you think social media is a problem that needs to be fixed or one that needs to be monitored?
I don't think it needs to be fixed. I think it definitely. Oh no, it needs to be fixed, and monitored. It's a shithole.
Why is that?
It's just there's a lot of standards that many people like aren't able to achieve. Like if you look at, especially like weightlifting influencers, a lot of them take substances to increase muscle size, which is to a normal person you can't really tell the difference between just a swole guy and a swole guy doing steroids, which I guess can create some sort of, mental thing. I think it should be monitored more.
Why is that?
Because the more that it stays, or the more like you keep looking on it, the more you find stuff that's, well, probably not great. Like you scroll on Instagram for too long, you're going to see people dying. You scroll on TikTok for too long, you'll see. Am I allowed to say nonce? Am I allowed to say nonces?
Brain rot.
There's a lot of them on there.
I think monitored would be better, since you can't fix something that millions of people use a day, and no matter how much you put in place to stop them from reversing the perfections, they will find their way around it.
I think it's a problem that, can't really be, outright wiped, because it's like Max said, billions of people use it. I think it should be more monitored, and in terms of the content being distributed and shared on certain social media platforms.
The next issue I find is the exploitation of the elderly and vulnerable people through social media. We've all heard the story. An elderly person has lost all their money to a pension scam. This often happens over the phone, and usually with the promise of double the money, and someone pretending they are from the companies trying to sell a service or an item that is fake or doesn't exist. However, with the increasing numbers of those over 50 joining social media platforms, mostly Facebook, it is important to realise that a huge amount of scams and clickbait articles that are used to grab their attention and fool the unaware. The elderly generation aren't always able to identify what is a scam until it's too late. Finally, there is the most threatening problem with social media, and its grip on the people to the point of addiction. This huge problem with social media companies are constantly finding new ways or algorithms to keep a user engaged. This is basically the role of cookies. Obviously not the biscuit, cookies serve as a small file of letters and numbers that is downloaded onto your computer when you visit a website. Cookies are used by many websites and can do a number of things, like remembering your preferences, recording what you've put in your shopping basket, and counting the number of people looking at a website. One of these downsides, as previously discussed, is the algorithm Facebook uses to work out what to advertise to different people. This is now used for everything, most commonly on TikTok, where it can scan what you search, what you look at, how long you look at it for, and many more. This control isn't hard to spot. You'll like or engage one post relevant to a subject, then around 20 posts later you'll get post after post of this content as the algorithm thinks you're interested, whether you actually are or not. This data can also be sold to other social media services, making it easier for them to keep your attention or sell you products they think you like and keep you coming back. However, finally, there is the biggest problem with social media. Throughout all the problems mentioned, cyberbullying, scams, hacking, companies selling our data to keep attention spans, the elderly, there's one problem above all of that. The biggest problem with social media is you. You're the person doom scrolling for 3 hours on TikTok. You are the one letting companies sell your data. Most importantly, you are the one spending a significant portion of your days looking at companies, brands, and people seemingly living life and success you wish you have. It's never about fitting in, living the monotony in someone else's shadow. It's about swimming against the tide and accepting that you yourself are above everything that happens on social media.